The meeting room on Harmony Prime Station was quiet except for the soft hum of air recyclers. Ambassador Jay Wu sat at the curved table, his hands folded neatly in front of him. Across from him, the Vorthon delegation took up twice as much space. Their bodies were large and covered in thick, dark shells that looked like armor. Each Vorthon had 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. Kai Min stood behind Jay Wu's chair. As the human military advisor, he watched everything with careful eyes. The Vorthans had been rude since they arrived 3 hours ago. They spoke loudly, interrupted the translator, and acted like they owned the station. War leader Thexfall was the biggest Vorthon. His shell was covered in scars from old battles. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. He had been talking for the past 20 minutes about how weak humans were. "Your species is new to space," Thexfall said, his 4 eyes fixed on Jay Wu. "You have only been among the stars for 50 of your years. We have ruled space for 1,000. Jay Wu nodded politely. "That is true, war leader, we are still learning." The other Vorthans made clicking sounds with their mouths. Kai Min knew this was how they laughed. They found human politeness funny. "Learning," repeated Thexfall. "Yes, you will learn. You will learn to serve stronger races. Your colonies produce good food and metals. Under Vorthon rule, they would be useful." The human translator, a young woman named Sujin, kept her voice steady as she repeated the war leader's words. But Kai Min saw her hands shake slightly. The Vorthons were not here to trade. They were here to threaten. "The United Terran Federation values peaceful trade," Jay Wu said. "We believe all species can benefit from working together." Thexfall stood up suddenly. His massive form cast a shadow over the human side of the table. "Peaceful," he spat. "Weak. You speak of peace because you cannot fight. Your ships are small. Your weapons are simple. Your soldiers are soft." The war leader walked around the table. His heavy feet made the floor shake with each step. The other Vorthons watched with interest. This was clearly something they enjoyed. "On my homeworld," Thexfall continued, "we have a saying. The prey always speaks of peace when the hunter approaches." Jay Wu remained seated. His face showed no emotion. "Perhaps, but we also have sayings on Earth. One of them is that the loudest voice in the room is usually the most afraid." The room went completely silent. Even the air recyclers seemed to pause. The Vorthon delegation stared at the human ambassador. No one had ever spoken to their war leader like that. Thexfall's 4 arms spread wide. His claws extended to their full length. "Afraid? You think Vorthons feel fear?" "I think all intelligent beings feel fear," Jay Wu replied calmly. "It keeps us alive." The war leader's shell changed color from dark brown to deep red. Kai Min had studied Vorthon biology. Red meant extreme anger. He moved his hand closer to his sidearm, though he knew it would be useless against Vorthon natural armor. "You dare insult me?" Thexfall roared. "A soft, weak creature like you dares to suggest that I, war leader of the 7th Fleet, fear anything?" The other Vorthons began clicking their claws against the table. It sounded like rain on metal. This was how they showed excitement before. A fight. Jay Wu finally stood up. Even standing, he only came up to Thexfall's chest. "I meant no insult, war leader. I was simply sharing human wisdom." "Human wisdom," Thexfall laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. "What wisdom can prey teach hunters? What can food teach those who eat it?" The war leader bent down until his face was inches from Jay Wu's. His breath smelled like rotting meat. "Here is Vorthon wisdom, little human. The strong take what they want. The weak give what they have. Your federation will give us 3 of your colony worlds. You will mine metals for us. You will grow food for us. You will build ships for us. In return, we will not destroy Earth." Kai Min felt his jaw clench. He had spent 5 years in the Terran Defense Force. He had seen what humans could do when threatened. But his job was to advise, not fight. Not yet. "That is not acceptable," Jay Wu said quietly. Thexfall straightened up. He looked confused. "Not acceptable? You have no choice. We offer you slavery. The alternative is death." Those are not the only options, Jae-woo replied. The war leader's shell turned an even deeper shade of red. You think you can fight us? Your entire fleet has maybe 50 ships. We have destroyed races with 10 times that number. Jae-woo adjusted his tie. It was a small gesture, but Kai-min recognized the signal. The ambassador was about to end the negotiations. War leader Thexval, Jae-woo said formally. The United Terran Federation thanks you for this meeting. However, we must respectfully decline your proposal. Thexval stared at him. Decline? Yes. We will not submit to Vorthon rule. We will not give you our colonies. We will not serve your empire. The war leader's confusion turned to rage. Then, you choose death over slavery? We choose freedom over both. Thexval raised one of his massive hands. For a moment, Kai-min thought he would strike the ambassador. Instead, the war leader spat on the floor at Jae-woo's feet. The spit was green and steamed when it hit the metal deck. In Vorthon culture, this was the worst possible insult. You are not even worth killing quickly, Thexval snarled. When we come for your worlds, we will make your death slow. We will make your people watch. We will make them beg. Jae-woo looked down at the steaming spit, then back up at the war leader. I understand your position, war leader. Allow me to make ours equally clear. The ambassador straightened his jacket and looked directly into Thexval's 4 eyes. The United Terran Federation formally rejects your proposal and considers this meeting concluded. The Vorthon delegation exchanged glances. In their culture, such calm words in the face of threats meant only one thing. Cowardice. Concluded. Thexval repeated with satisfaction. Yes, human. Your species is concluded. You had a chance to live as slaves. Now you will die as nothing. The war leader turned to his delegation. We leave. There is nothing more to gain from talking to cowards. As the Vorthons filed out of the room, Thexval paused at the door. 3 days, human. In 3 days we will begin taking your colonies. Tell your leaders to prepare their surrender speeches. The door slid shut with a soft hiss. Jae-woo remained, standing until he was sure the Vorthons were gone. Then he sat down heavily in his chair. Sir, Kai-min said quietly, are you all right? Jae-woo nodded slowly. Yes, though I suspect we have just made a terrible mistake. Sir? Not us, Kai-min. Them. The ambassador looked at his aide. Please send a message to Earth. Priority 1. Tell them the Vorthon Empire has just formally declared war on humanity. Kai-min felt his blood run cold. Sir, respectfully, they threatened us. They demanded our surrender. But they did not declare war. Jae-woo shook his head. In human diplomatic protocol, when I said the meeting was concluded after their ultimatum, that was equivalent to a formal rejection of their terms. When they said they would take our colonies by force, that was a declaration of hostile intent. When they gave us a 3-day deadline, that was a formal declaration of war. But sir, Sujin the translator spoke up, they might not understand human diplomatic protocol. No, Jae-woo agreed sadly. They probably do not. They think they just scared a weak species into submission. They think we will spend the next 3 days preparing to surrender. Kai-min was already activating his secure communicator. What should I tell command, sir? Jae-woo was quiet for a long moment. He stared out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Vorthon fleet was preparing to attack human colonies. Somewhere else, human families were going about their daily lives, unaware that their government had just been forced into a war. Tell them, Jae-woo said slowly, that the Vorthons have made a fundamental error. They assumed that because we prefer peace, we are incapable of war. They assumed that because we try diplomacy first, we have no other options. He turned back to his aide. Tell command that war leader Thexval just learned something important about humans. We do not start fights, but we finish them. Kai-min began encoding the message. As he worked, he thought about his time in the Defense Force. He remembered the training exercises that seemed too realistic. He remembered the weapons tests that seemed too advanced. He remembered the ship construction projects that seemed too large for a peaceful federation. Now he understood why. Humanity had been preparing for this day since they first reached the stars. They had hoped it would never come. They had worked hard to avoid it, but they had prepared for it all the same. "Sir," Kaimin said as he finished the message, "what happens now?" Jaewu looked out at the stars again. "Now, Kaimin, the Vorthons learn why Earth's first rule of space exploration was to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst." The message went out on quantum channels to every human world. Within hours, emergency protocols would activate. Reserve fleets would mobilize. Hidden weapons would come online. Civilian ships would report for military conversion. The Vorthons thought they had just bullied another weak species. They had no idea they had just awakened something that had been waiting in the dark between stars. Something that had been planning and preparing and hoping it would never need to fight. But if it had to fight, it would win. The war had begun. The message from Harmony Prime reached Earth 12 hours after the diplomatic meeting ended. Deep beneath the Swiss mountains, in a bunker that did not appear on any map, Admiral So-Jin read the report for the third time. Her coffee had gone cold, but she did not notice. "Get me the president," she said to her aide, Lieutenant Commander Heejin, "and wake up the entire War Council. Emergency session in 30 minutes. The war room was carved from solid rock 200 meters underground. Its walls were lined with screens showing every human colony, every ship, every defensive position in known space. President Taeho arrived first, still in his sleeping clothes but fully alert. Defense Minister Min Seo came next, followed by the heads of intelligence, strategic planning, and colonial defense. Admiral So-Jin stood at the head of the massive table. The holographic display above showed the current position of all known Vorthon ships. Red dots moved slowly across the star map, each one representing a threat to human life. "Ladies and gentlemen," So-Jin began, "as of 1400 hours yesterday, the Vorthon Empire formally declared war on humanity." The room was silent for a moment. Then everyone began talking at once. "How many ships do they have? What about our colonies? Are our defenses ready?" President Taeho raised his hand for silence. "Admiral, please give us the full situation." So-Jin activated the display controls. "Captain Dongwu from Strategic Intelligence will brief us on Vorthon capabilities." "Captain." Dongwu was a thin man with careful eyes. He had spent 3 years studying every piece of information humanity had about the Vorthon Empire. Now all that study would be put to the test. "The Vorthon Empire has 50 Dreadnought-class ships," he began. "Each one is roughly twice the size of our largest vessels. They mount heavy plasma cannons and have thick armor plating. They also have 200 cruisers, 500 destroyers, and approximately 2,000 fighter craft." Minister Min Seo leaned forward. "How does that compare to our forces?" "On paper, we have 847 active warships," Dongwu replied. "The Vorthons outnumber us roughly 2-to-1 in total ships, but they have significant advantages in size and firepower." President Taeho frowned. "That does not sound encouraging." Admiral So-Jin smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Mr. President, Captain Dongwu just gave you our public numbers, the ones we report to the Galactic Council, the ones the Vorthons used for their intelligence estimates." She pressed another control. The display changed, showing hundreds of new ship symbols scattered throughout human space. "Our actual current strength is 12,436 combat-capable vessels." The room erupted in surprised voices. Even some of the War Council members looked shocked. 12,000? Minister Min Seo repeated. "How is that possible?" "We have been preparing for this since first contact," So-Jin explained. "Every human colony has hidden shipyards. Every asteroid mining operation includes military production facilities. Every civilian ship built in the last 15 years can be converted to military use within 72 hours. Lieutenant Heejin stepped forward with a data tablet. "Sir, the conversion orders went out 6 hours ago. We are already seeing results." She activated another display. Across human space, green lights began appearing as civilian vessels reported for military duty. "The cargo ship Seoul Morning is now the escort carrier Seoul's Wrath," Hae-Jin reported. "The passenger liner New Tokyo has become the troop transport Samurai's Edge." The mining vessel Iron Mountain is now the heavy weapons platform, Mountain's Fury. President Tejo stared at the growing list of ship conversions. How long has this been planned? Since day one, sir, Admiral Sojin replied. The moment we met other species, we realized some of them might not be friendly. We hoped for peace, but we prepared for war. Captain Dong Wu brought up another set of data. Sir, we also have detailed intelligence on Vorthon tactics and weaknesses. They prefer direct assault tactics. Their ships have powerful forward weapons but limited point defense systems. They are used to fighting species that match their honor-based combat style. And we do not fight that way, Sojin added. No, sir, humans fight to win. Defense Minister Min Seo looked at the tactical displays. What about their biology? Can we use that against them? Lieutenant He-jin consulted her tablet. Vorthons require 14 hours of rest per day cycle. Their reaction time averages 2.3 seconds. They have excellent strength and natural armor, but their sensory systems are designed for ground combat, not space warfare. They are also extremely aggressive, Dongwu added. Intelligence suggests they will attack immediately and with overwhelming force. They do not understand concepts like strategic withdrawal or defensive delay. Admiral Sojin nodded. They think retreat means defeat. They do not understand that sometimes you pull back to draw an enemy into a trap. President Tejo studied the star charts. Where will they attack first? Kepler 442b, Sojin replied immediately. It is our furthest colony and appears to be our weakest. They will want an easy victory to demonstrate their power. Is it actually our weakest? Sojin's smile returned. No, sir. It is our most heavily defended position outside the Sol system. We just made it look weak. The president sat back in his chair. How long do we have? Vorthon ships are faster than ours in straight-line speed, Dongwu reported. But they will need to organize their fleet and plan their attack. Estimate 48 to 72 hours before they reach Kepler 442b. And our forces? Commodore Ji-hoon is already in position. With Task Force 7, Admiral Sojin replied. He has orders to make the defense look desperate while drawing the Vorthons into optimal firing positions. Lieutenant Hae-jin brought up personnel files. Sir, Commodore Ji-hoon commanded the stealth operations during the Centauri Asteroid War games. He specializes in making small forces look weak while hiding their true strength. President Tejo studied the display showing Vorthon fleet movements. Red arrows pointed toward human space like spears aimed at the heart of the Federation. Admiral, I need to ask you something directly. Can we win this war? Sojin looked at the star charts, at the ship counts, at the tactical analyses. She thought about the thousands of human engineers who had worked in secret for 15 years. She thought about the weapon systems that had been tested only in deep space, far from alien observers. She thought about the manufacturing capacity, hidden in asteroid belts and moon bases. Mr. President, the Vorthons are about to learn something important about humanity. They think they are declaring war on a species that has been spacefaring for 50 years. They are actually declaring war on a species that spent 40 of those years preparing for exactly this moment. She pointed to the tactical display. They see our exploration ships and think we are weak. They see our trade vessels and think we are peaceful. They see our small military and think we are defenseless. The Admiral pressed a final control. The display changed to show the true scope of human military preparation. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Weapons platforms disguised as communication, satellites. Entire fleets camouflaged as asteroid mining operations. What they do not see is the civilization that produced the most successful predator species in Earth's history. A species that hunted mammoth with stone spears. A species that crossed oceans in wooden boats. A species that never stopped fighting, even when the fight seemed impossible. President Tejo stood up slowly. Send word to all human colonies. Implement War Protocol 7. All civilian governments transition to military command. All industrial. Production switches to war materials. All transport is now under Defense Force control. Yes, sir. And Admiral? Sir? Send a message to War Leader Thexval. Tell him that humanity accepts his declaration of war. Tell him we will meet his forces at Kepler 442b. Admiral So Jin raised an eyebrow. Sir, that will give away our defensive positions. President Tae-ho shook his head. No, Admiral. That will bring them exactly where we want them. As the War Council dispersed to their duties, Lieutenant He Jin remained behind with Admiral So Jin. The two women stood alone in the vast underground chamber, surrounded by displays showing the mobilization of human space. Admiral, He Jin said quietly, do you really think we can win? So Jin looked at the young officer. Lieutenant, the Vorthons made one critical error in their intelligence gathering. What error, sir? They studied our military. They counted our ships. They analyzed our weapons, but they never studied our history. Hai Jin waited for the Admiral to continue. If they had studied human history, they would have learned that we are the species that domesticated wolves. We are the species that turned fire into a tool. We are the species that looked at the ocean and decided to cross it. We looked at the sky and decided to fly. We looked at space and decided to claim it. So Jin turned to face the main display, where thousands of green lights now showed human ships moving into position. The Vorthons think they are fighting a young, weak species. They are actually fighting the descendants of every human who ever refused to give up, every human who ever stood against impossible odds, every human who ever decided that freedom was worth dying for. She pressed a communication control. All stations, this is Admiral So Jin. War Protocol 7 is now in effect. To all human forces, we did not start this war, but we will finish it. Make them. The Vorthon First Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. War leader Thexval stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, and watched the tactical displays show the human colony world ahead. Scanner report, he demanded. Subleader Vrextok consulted his instruments. The planet shows no orbital defenses, War leader. Population centers appear abandoned. We detect only scattered energy signatures. Thexval's forearms spread in satisfaction. As expected, the humans ran when they heard we were coming. The Vorthon fleet was impressive by any standard. 37 warships moved in perfect formation toward the human world. Dreadnoughts led the way, their massive hulls bristling with plasma cannons. Cruisers flanked them, ready to pursue any fleeing enemies. Destroyers spread out in hunting formation, searching for hidden threats. What they found instead confused them. War leader, Vrextok reported, I am detecting human ships near the fourth planet. How many? 12 vessels, sir. They appear to be waiting for us. Thexval studied the tactical display. 12 ships against 37. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Are they military vessels? Difficult to tell, sir. Human ship classifications are unusual. They appear to be converted civilian craft. Converted? Thexval laughed, the sound echoing through the bridge. They are so desperate they are using cargo ships as warships? The other Vorthons on the bridge joined in the laughter. This would be even easier than they had expected. Set course for the human formation, Thexval ordered. We will destroy them quickly, then proceed to the planet. But aboard the human ships, a very different conversation was taking place. Commodore Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the stealth carrier Indomitable, watching the Vorthon fleet approach. His ship did not appear on any of the enemy's scanners. The Vorthons saw only the 12 converted civilian vessels that were meant to be seen. Status report, Ji-hoon said quietly. All decoy ships in position, reported Lieutenant Sumin from the tactical station. The Vorthons are taking the bait. Hidden platforms? Fully powered and awaiting orders, sir. Fighter squadrons? Ready for launch on your command. Ji-hoon studied the holographic display showing the real tactical situation. What the Vorthons saw as 12 helpless converted ships was actually the visible part of a carefully planned trap. Hidden throughout the asteroid field were weapons platforms disguised as mining equipment. Cloaked fighters waited in the shadows of space rocks. The real human fleet was positioned behind the system's gas giant, completely invisible to Vorthon. Sensors, communications, patch me through to Captain Youngsu on the Relentless. Captain Youngsu commanded the lead decoy ship, a converted cargo vessel that now carried enough firepower to destroy a cruiser. His job was to make the Vorthans think they were winning, while leading them into the kill zone. Young-Soo here, Commodore. Are you ready to run away from the scary aliens? Ji-hoon asked with dark humor. Ready and eager, sir. We will make them think we are terrified. Remember, make it look good. Retreat at exactly the right speed to keep them following. Understood, sir. The Vorthon fleet closed the distance quickly. When they were within weapons range, Thexval gave the order to fire. Plasma bolts erupted from the Vorthon ships, lighting up space with deadly energy. The human decoy ships scattered, appearing to panic under the assault. They run! Thexval roared in triumph. All ships pursue, do not let any escape. The human ships retreated deeper into the asteroid field, firing back with what appeared to be desperation shots. Several of the converted vessels took hits and began trailing atmosphere. The Vorthons pressed their attack, sure of easy victory. Captain, Young-Soo fought to keep his voice steady as he reported damage. Commodore, they are hitting us hard. We have lost 2 decoy ships. I know, Captain. You are doing perfectly. Keep them following. Engineer Soo-min monitored the trap from her position aboard the Tenacious, one of the destroyers hidden behind the gas giant. Her job was to coordinate the hidden weapons platforms scattered throughout the asteroid field. Commodore, she reported. The Vorthons are entering the primary kill zone now. All platforms? Ready and targeted, sir. Ji-hoon watched the tactical display as the Vorthon fleet spread out to hunt the retreating humans. They were exactly where he wanted them. Scattered, aggressive, and completely unaware of the danger surrounding them. All hidden units, this is Commodore Ji-hoon. Execute Phase 2. Repeat, execute Phase 2. The asteroid field erupted. What the Vorthons had thought were simple space rocks suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed weapons platforms. Fusion charges detonated in carefully planned sequences, herding the alien ships into overlapping fields of fire. Point defense lasers reached out from concealed positions, targeting Vorthon engines and weapons. Subleader Vrextok stared at his sensors in horror. War Leader, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the field. The asteroids, they are not asteroids. What? Thexval spun to face the scanner station. What do you mean? Sir, we are surrounded by hidden weapons. The humans, they planned this. The Vorthon formation, spread out for pursuit, found itself caught in a carefully designed killing field. The ships that had seemed so powerful moments before were now separated and under attack from multiple directions. All ships formed defensive positions, Thexval bellowed. Return fire. But it was too late. The human trap was already closing. Captain Young-Soo brought his decoy ships around for attack runs. What had appeared to be damaged cargo vessels suddenly revealed their true nature as converted warships. Weapon ports opened along their hulls and they began pouring fire into the confused Vorthon formation. This is Captain Young-Soo to all units, he broadcast. Time to stop running. Show them what converted civilian ships can really do. The Relentless targeted the nearest Vorthon cruiser with precision fire. Its modified cargo bays held military-grade missile launchers and Young-Soo used them with deadly effect. Meanwhile, Engineer Soo-min coordinated the hidden platforms with deadly precision. Platform 7, target the Dreadnought's port side. Platform 12, hit the destroyer formation. Platform 23 cut off their retreat. The Vorthons tried to fight back, but they were facing an enemy that had turned an entire asteroid field into a weapon. Every space rock potentially hid guns. Every piece of mining equipment was actually military hardware. War leader Thexval watched his formation fall apart. Ships that had seemed invincible minutes before were now burning wrecks drifting through space. How is this possible? He demanded. They only had 12 ships. Sir, Vrextok reported with a shaking voice. Scanner analysis suggests the humans have over 40 weapon platforms hidden throughout this field, plus the ships we can see. Plus, sir, I am detecting more ships approaching from the gas giant. The real human fleet was moving into position. Destroyers and frigates that had been completely hidden now appeared on sensors as they accelerated toward the battle. Commodore Ji-hoon allowed himself a small smile. All ships, this is Ji-hoon. Welcome to human space. Show our visitors how we defend our homes. The battle became a massacre. The Vorthons, bred for direct combat, could not adapt to the three-dimensional trap they had walked into. Their ships were powerful but designed for ship-to-ship combat, not for fighting an entire weapons system disguised as an asteroid field. Lieutenant Sumin watched the tactical display as Vorthon ship after Vorthon ship went dark. Commodore, we have destroyed 23 enemy vessels. The survivors are attempting to retreat. Let them go, Ji-hoon ordered, but make sure they remember this. Captain Young-soo opened a communication channel to the fleeing Vorthons. War Leader. Thexval, this is Captain Young-soo of the Terran Defense Force. You wanted to see how humans fight. This is how humans fight. Thexval's reply was filled with rage and confusion. You fight without honor. Face us directly. Honor is a luxury we cannot afford, Young-soo replied calmly. You wanted war. This is what human war looks like. The surviving Vorthon ships limped out of the system, their formation shattered and their confidence destroyed. Of the 37 ships that had entered the system, only 14 remained combat capable. As the enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace, Commodore Ji-hoon addressed his fleet. Well done, everyone, but remember this was just the first battle. They will be back with more ships and better preparation. Engineer Su-min began coordinating the cleanup efforts. Sir, what about the weapons platforms? Leave them in place. Reconfigure them to look like asteroids again. When the Vorthons return, they will assume we have moved our defenses. They will be wrong. Lieutenant Commander Hyejin, monitoring the battle from Earth, sent a priority message to Admiral Sojin. Admiral, Kepler 442b defense successful. Enemy, fleet broken. 14 survivors fleeing toward Vorthon space. Admiral Sojin reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. Everything had gone according to plan. The Vorthons had learned their first lesson about human warfare. Nothing was as it seemed. But she knew this was only the beginning. The real test would come when the Vorthons mobilized their full strength for revenge. Send orders to all system. Commanders, she instructed. Prepare for massive retaliation. The Vorthons will not make the same mistake twice. In the depths, the Vorthon Grand Fleet assembled at the edge of their home system with a fury born of wounded pride. War Leader Thexval stood before the High Command Council, his scarred shell still bearing marks from the battle at Kepler 442b. The shame of his defeat burned in his 4 eyes. Explain this failure, demanded Grand War Leader Ketvos, the supreme commander of all Vorthon forces. His massive form dominated the council chamber, and his voice carried the authority of 1,000 victories. The humans used deception, Thexval replied, his voice bitter. They hid weapons throughout the asteroid field. They made their ships appear weak when they were strong. Deception, Ketvos repeated with disgust. The weapon of cowards. Yes, Grand War Leader, but effective cowards. The council chamber fell silent. To admit that cowardly tactics had defeated Vorthon warriors was almost unthinkable. How many ships do they truly possess? Asked Sub-Grand War Leader Nexrel. Unknown, sir. Our intelligence was incomplete. They may have hundreds more than we estimated. Grand War Leader Ketvos studied the tactical displays showing human space. Then we will bring everything, the entire Grand Fleet, 300 ships. We will burn their worlds to ash and make an example of them for the galaxy. Across the chamber, every Vorthon commander roared approval. The sound echoed off the metal walls like thunder. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the massive command ship Terra's Wrath. The vessel was the largest ever built by humanity, its hull stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Around it, the Solar Defense Force waited in perfect formation. Scanner report, Hyunwoo ordered. Commander Bo-ra consulted her instruments. Sir, long-range sensors confirm the approach of the Vorthon Grand Fleet. 300 vessels, including 50 dreadnoughts. Time to Earth? 18 hours at current speed. Admiral Hyunwoo nodded calmly. 18 hours was more than enough time. Signal all commands. Execute Protocol Omega. Repeat, Protocol Omega is now in effect. Throughout human space, the order triggered the final phase of humanity's war preparation. Every hidden base revealed itself. Every disguised weapon platform came online. Every reserve fleet moved to attack positions. On Proxima Centauri, Colonel Xiongho watched as his battle group emerged from behind the system's asteroid belt. 60 ships that had been completely invisible suddenly appeared on all sensors. This is Colonel Xiongho to all Proxima units. We are no longer hiding. Time to show the galaxy what human engineering can do. At Alpha Centauri, Commander Dayun brought her defense fleet out of the gas giant's atmosphere where they had been concealed for 3 years. The ships had been modified to operate in dense atmospheric conditions, making them completely undetectable until now. Dayun to all Alpha units, deploy for maximum visibility. Let them see us coming. At Tau Ceti, Captain Wan Ho activated the system's hidden shipyards. What had appeared to be asteroid mining operations suddenly revealed themselves as massive manufacturing facilities. Dozens of freshly built warships began moving toward jump points. This is Wan Ho to Tau Ceti Command. Production facilities now active. New ships launching every hour. But the greatest revelation was yet to come. As the Vorthan Grand Fleet entered the Sol system, their sensors began detecting impossible readings. Ships appeared everywhere. Thousands of ships. More ships than the Vorthans had thought existed in all of human space. War Leader Thexval stood next to Grand War Leader Ketvos on the bridge of the flagship Galaxy's End. Both Vorthans stared at the tactical displays in growing horror. This cannot be accurate, Ketvos said slowly. Sensor operator Nara checked her instruments 3 times before responding. Sir, readings confirmed. We are detecting over 8,000 human vessels. In this system alone. 8,000? Thexval whispered. That is impossible. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 1,000 ships total. Our intelligence was wrong, Ketvos replied grimly. On the human side, Admiral Hyun-woo watched the Vorthan fleet, slow to a stop as they tried to process what they were seeing. He opened a communication channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Hyun-woo. Today, the galaxy learns the truth about humanity. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. Show them what Earth's children can do. Ibambi. Response came from thousands of ships across dozens of star systems. Every human vessel, from massive dreadnoughts to converted civilian craft, announced their presence simultaneously. This is the Soul's Revenge, ready for battle. Busan's Pride standing by, Incheon's Fury awaiting orders, Daegu's Hammer locked and loaded. The communications continued for 10 minutes as ship after ship declared their readiness. The Vorthans listened in stunned silence as they realized the true scope of what they faced. Lieutenant Kyung-min, aboard the experimental fighter Raptor, prepared for launch from the carrier Indomitable. His ship was one of hundreds of new fighters that the Vorthans had never seen before. This is Kyung-min to all fighter squadrons. Time to show them why humans evolved as hunters. Major Junseo commanded a bomber squadron from the heavy carrier Soul's Vengeance. His ships carried weapons designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Vorthan armor. All bomber units, this is Junseo. Target their point defense systems first. Make way for the capital ships. But perhaps the most shocking revelation came when the human civilian fleet revealed its true nature. What the Vorthans had thought were helpless cargo ships suddenly opened hidden weapon bays. Passenger liners deployed fighter squadrons. Mining. Vessels revealed themselves as mobile weapons platforms. Captain Dongwu, now commanding the converted liner New Seoul, addressed his crew over the ship's communication system. Attention all hands. We are no longer the passenger ship New Seoul. We are now the battleship Seoul's Justice. Let us show our passengers what human hospitality really means. Every human civilian ship had been designed with hidden military capabilities. Cargo holds became missile bays. Passenger decks became fighter hangars. Maintenance bays became weapon foundries. War leader Thexval finally understood the magnitude of his error. They turned their entire civilization into a weapon. Grand War leader Ketvos studied the tactical displays with growing dread. Every ship is armed. Every station is a fortress. Every colony is a military base. Sir, sensor operator Nara reported with a trembling voice, we are detecting additional fleets moving from hidden positions throughout human space. The total number of human vessels now exceeds 15,000. 15,000, Ketvos repeated numbly. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo opened a direct communication channel to the Vorthon flagship. Grand War Leader Ketvos, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Force. I believe there has been a misunderstanding. Ketvos activated his reply system with one of his 4 arms. What misunderstanding? Your forces declared war on humanity because you believed we were weak. You thought our peaceful nature meant we were defenseless. You assumed that because we preferred diplomacy, we were incapable of war. What is your point, human? Admiral Hyunwoo's voice carried across space with calm certainty. My point, Grand War Leader, is that you have made a fundamental error in judgment. You declared war on a species that has spent 50 years in space. But 40 of those years were spent preparing for this exact moment. The communication channel fell silent as the implication sank in. Every human world is a fortress, Hyunwoo continued. Every human ship is a weapon of war. Every human citizen is a soldier. We did not choose to be warriors, Grand War Leader. You forced us to become them. Throughout the Sol system, the human fleet began moving into attack formation. Thousands of ships moved with precision and purpose, demonstrating a level of coordination that spoke of decades of preparation. Commander Bo-Ra reported from her tactical station. Sir, all fleets report ready for engagement. We have them outnumbered, 50-1. Admiral Hyunwoo nodded. Open a final channel to the Vorthon fleet. Channel open, sir. Grand War Leader Ketvos, I am going to give you one opportunity to withdraw your forces and return to Vorthon space. This offer will not be repeated. You would let us leave? Ketvos asked, his voice filled with confusion. We are not a vengeful species, Grand War Leader. We fight to defend ourselves, not to conquer others. But if you choose to continue this battle, you will discover why Earth is called the Deathworld. War Leader Thexval leaned close to his commander. Sir, we cannot defeat this force. We walked into a trap 50 years in the making. Grand War Leader Ketvos stared at the tactical displays showing the overwhelming human force surrounding his fleet. 300 Vorthon ships against 15,000 human vessels. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. Sir, urged Thexval, we must withdraw. We can return with reinforcements. Reinforcements? Ketvos laughed bitterly. This is 80% of our total military strength. There are no reinforcements. On the human flagship, Admiral Hyunwoo waited for the Vorthon response. Around him, his crew prepared for what could be the largest space battle in galactic history. Sir, Commander Bo-Ra reported, the Vorthon fleet is not withdrawing. Admiral Hyunwoo sighed sadly. Then they have chosen their fate. All ships, prepare for combat. And may whatever gods they worship have mercy on them, because we will not. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle began at 1432 Terran Standard Time, with a silence that stretched across the void of space. 15,000 human ships faced 300 Vorthon vessels in the most uneven fight in galactic history. Yet Grand War Leader Ketvos chose to fight rather than flee. All ships, Ketvos broadcast to his fleet, we die with honor today. Show the galaxy that Vorthons do not surrender. The Vorthon Grand Fleet charged forward in a massive wedge formation, their plasma cannons lighting up space with deadly fire. It was a glorious sight, and utterly futile. Admiral Hyunwoo watched from the bridge of Terra's Wrath as the enemy fleet approached. All units, execute Battle Plan Omega. Engage at will. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Commander. Bora led the first wave of human destroyers in a coordinated strike that showed 40 years of tactical evolution. Her ships moved in three-dimensional formations that the Vorthons could not follow or predict. Wolfpack Alpha, this is Bora. Target the lead dreadnoughts. Use Pattern 7. Her destroyers split into groups of 4, each group attacking a different angle of the same target. The Vorthons, expecting direct assault, found themselves surrounded by smaller, faster ships that struck and vanished before they could respond. Major Kyung-min launched from the carrier Indomitable, leading a squadron of experimental fighters. His ship, the Raptor, was faster and more agile than anything the Vorthons had ever encountered. All fighters, this is Kyung-min, show them what 40 years of aerospace development looks like. The human fighters moved through the Vorthon formation, like schools of predatory fish. Their weapons were precisely targeted to exploit every weakness in Vorthon ship design. Point defense systems that had seemed adequate against conventional attacks proved useless against human tactics. Captain Jun Seo commanded bomber squadrons that attacked with surgical precision. His ships carried weapons specifically designed, after decades of studying captured Vorthon technology. Bomber Wing 7, this is Jun Seo. Target structural weak points only. Make every shot count. The bombers struck at the joints between armor plates, at weapon mounting points, at engine connections. They had studied Vorthon ship construction for years and knew exactly where to hit. But perhaps the most shocking demonstration came from the converted civilian ships. Captain Dong-woo, commanding the former passenger liner New Seoul, engaged a Vorthon cruiser with weapons that had been hidden in the ship's entertainment decks. This is Dong-woo to all civilian conversions. Time to show them what human engineering can do. The New Seoul deployed weapons bays from what had once been passenger lounges. Missile tubes emerged from former shopping areas. Point defense systems rose from recreational facilities. In minutes, the luxury liner had become a weapons platform that matched any military vessel. Throughout the Sol system, similar transformations occurred. Cargo ships revealed hidden fighter bays. Mining vessels deployed military-grade sensors. Even small private spacecraft opened weapon ports that had been disguised as communication arrays. War leader Thexval watched in horror from the bridge of Galaxy's End as his forces were systematically destroyed. How is this possible? They have turned everything into weapons. Sir, reported sensor operator Nara, analysis suggests that every human vessel was designed for military conversion from the beginning. Their entire space industry has been preparation for war. The Vorthon fleet, designed for direct combat against honorable enemies, could not adapt to fighting an entire civilization that had been weaponized. Their ships were powerful, but predictable. Their tactics were proven but inflexible. Grand War leader Ketvos made a desperate decision. All ships target the human command vessel. If we can destroy their leadership, we might still win. The remaining Vorthon dreadnoughts turned toward Terra's wrath, concentrating their fire on Admiral Hyunwoo's flagship. Plasma bolts that could melt through asteroid rock struck the human ship's shields. Damage report, Hyunwoo called calmly. Shields at 60% and holding, replied Commander Bora. Their weapons are powerful, but our defenses were designed specifically to counter them. Lieutenant Yunsu at the tactical station monitored the approaching Vorthon ships. Sir, the enemy flagship is attempting a ramming attack. Admiral Hyunwoo studied the tactical display. War leader Thexval's ship Bone Crusher was accelerating directly toward them, its plasma cannons firing continuously. Deploy the new weapon, Hyunwoo ordered quietly. Sir? Deploy weapon system Omega. It is time to show the galaxy what human theoretical physics can accomplish. Lieutenant Yunsu's hands moved over her controls with practiced precision. Gravitational field generator. Charging. Target locked on the Bone Crusher. Deep in the bowels of Terra's wrath, a weapon that had been 40 years in development came online. Human scientists had studied every aspect of physics during their decades of preparation. Now they demonstrated the result. Gravitational field. Active, Yunsu reported. Space itself seemed to twist around the Vorthon flagship. The Bone Crusher, a massive dreadnought that had seemed unstoppable moments before, began to tear apart as competing gravitational forces pulled at its hull. War leader. Thexval felt his ship shuddering around him. What is happening? Sir? Nara screamed over the noise of rending metal. They are using gravity as a weapon. Our hull cannot withstand the stress. The Bone Crusher came apart like paper in a hurricane. The ship that had led the conquest of 17 species disintegrated in seconds. Across the battlefield, the remaining Vorthon ships watched their flagship die and finally understood the true scope of their error. Grand War Leader Ket Voss, aboard the Galaxy's End, stared at the tactical display showing the destruction of his fleet. Of 300 ships, fewer than 20 remained combat-capable. All remaining ships, he broadcast with a heavy voice, withdraw immediately, return to Vorthon space. But Admiral Hyunwoo was not finished. Attention Vorthon vessels, he broadcast on all frequencies. This is Admiral Hyunwoo. Your Grand War Leader is aboard the ship Galaxy's End. That ship will not be permitted to leave this system. The remaining human fleet moved to surround the Vorthon flagship. Thousands of weapons locked onto the massive vessel. Sir, Commander, Bora reported, we have them completely surrounded. Admiral Hyunwoo opened a direct channel to the Vorthon command ship. Grand War Leader Ket Voss, this is Admiral Hyunwoo. I am prepared to accept your surrender. Surrender? Ket Voss's voice carried a mixture of rage and despair. Vorthons do not surrender. Then you will die. Your choice. There was a long pause before Ket Voss spoke again. If I surrender, what happens to my surviving ships? They will be escorted to the edge of human space and released. They will carry word back to your empire of what happened here. And me? You will be treated according to human standards for prisoners of war. You will be held until a formal peace treaty is negotiated. Another pause. Then quietly, what are your terms for peace? Admiral Hyunwoo considered carefully before responding. The Vorthon Empire will formally recognize human sovereignty over all current human worlds. Vorthon ships will not enter human space without permission. The Empire will pay reparations for the ships we lost defending ourselves. And you will announce to the galaxy that any species that attacks humanity will face the same fate as your grand fleet. Ket Voss was silent for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. I accept your terms. The surrender of the Vorthon Grand Fleet marked the end of the shortest interstellar war in galactic history. From declaration to surrender, it had lasted less than 1 week. 3 months later, Ambassador Jae-woo stood before the Galactic Council once again. This time, the other species listened with very different attitudes. The United Terran Federation wishes to reaffirm our commitment to peace, he said to the assembled delegates. We do not seek to conquer or control other species. We want only to exist in harmony with our galactic neighbors. The Vorthon delegate, Sub-Leader Vrextalk, stood to address the council. The Vorthon Empire has learned a valuable lesson. We mistook human preference for peace as an inability to wage war. We were wrong. President Mi-young, attending the council session virtually from Earth, added her own statement. Let this serve as a warning to any who would threaten humanity. We prepare for war so that we might enjoy peace. We build weapons so that we need not use them. We train soldiers so that they might protect civilians. But, she continued, her voice carrying clearly across the council chamber, if you force us to fight, you will discover why Earth is called the Deathworld. You will learn why humans are the most successful predator species our planet ever produced. You will understand why we do not lose. War Leader Thexeval, now a prisoner aboard a human vessel, spent his days writing in his personal journal. His final entry read, I have had time to study human history during my captivity. I understand now what we faced. We declared war on a species that climbed down from trees and decided to rule a planet. A species that looked at fire and made it serve them. A species that saw the ocean and chose to cross it. A species that gazed at the stars and decided to claim them. We thought they were weak because they spoke of peace. We were wrong. They spoke of peace because they knew the cost of war. They had calculated that cost down to the last ship, the last life, the last bullet, and they had decided they could